Good morning. I'm here with Untitled Kosfiszer. My name is Joe Reingold as the interviewer, and today is June 21st, 2018. Hello there. Good morning.
Hello, hi.
Tell us a little bit about your family, what you remember of your grandparents and your parents, where they were from, etc., and how you got to be here in Dallas.
All right. Because of my accent, you may realize I wasn't born in the U.S. I was born in Buenos Aires, Argentina. And my parents both came from Poland, but from different areas of Poland, close to Warsaw, my mother. And my father came from the Lublin, which is in the southeast corner of Poland and close to the Ukraine. My grandfather on my mother's side went to Argentina in 1925 with 5 children, and my father went by himself in 1930. And unfortunately, both families had a very different outcome. My father's family was killed in the Holocaust, except the uncle, and my grandfather, because on my mother's side, because he went to Argentina with his family, all the people that I knew of the family lived in Argentina. And the reason I am here in Dallas is because I am an engineer, and I knew about Texas Instruments. I was an electronic engineer in Argentina, and I came with Texas Instruments to work in the oil exploration division. So I had experience in the field on how to explore for oil, especially in Ecuador. I was in the Amazon jungle for a while as a training engineer.
And when did you come here? How long ago?
Oh, I came in 1969. We had our oldest daughter was just a year old, and we went to London, and then to Sydney, Australia, and then we came back in 1973, and our youngest daughter was born in 74. We have 3 children, but one was born in Argentina, the other one was born in England, which is my son, the middle one, and my youngest one that was born in Dallas.
Okay. And you were married in Buenos Aires?
Yes,
and lived there for a little
married.
while?
My wife is a pharmacist, and I am an engineer.
Mm-hmm. So tell us a little bit about some of the highlights of your childhood.
Well, it's very different than the one that you may be familiar with in Dallas. Although I grew up in a big city like Buenos Aires, Buenos Aires has now 12 million people. I did not live in the center of Buenos Aires, I live in the outskirts, and it was like a rural town. We had, the water was needed to be pumped, and also the sewage system was not in line. And also we were playing soccer in the field across our house. I grew up in a very poor, not middle class even, just working class neighborhood.
Mm-hmm. So these were good memories for you, pretty much?
Oh yes,
yes.
When you're a child, you don't think that what went on, mainly because I was born in 1942, which was the year that Germany destroyed the Jewry of Poland, and my family was, on my father's side, was destroyed there, but I didn't know anything about it. My father didn't speak about it, and so I didn't know about the tragedy that was going on.
Did he ever open up during his lifetime later on?
Not really, because he passed away now many years ago, and people didn't talk about the Holocaust and the way we know about it right now.
What was your Jewish life like in those days in Buenos Aires, in Argentina?
Well, I knew I was Jewish. I was the only Jewish child in my school. Okay, and so and there was no synagogue, and there was not a community. Large community. We had friends that were Jewish. The lady that lived across the street was Jewish, and so we had that. My grandfather was quite religious, but he lived in the city and close to a synagogue,
mm-hmm.
But not us.
Did you spend holidays with him, or any type of celebrations?
Yes, when we could, because we needed to go to his place, and he was Orthodox, so we couldn't travel on the holiday, so it was very difficult to just arrange to go and visit him on the, during the holidays.
So I imagine your parents really didn't have the chance to belong to any like other Jewish organizations or anything, right, at that point?
No, and also remember they came from, both of them, from very poor background, rural eastern Poland, and there was, the community all of a sudden is broken. They come to a new country, a new language, a new culture, a very strongly Catholic neighborhood, and so they just tried their best to keep Jewishness as they understood it, and that was it.
So, what were your high school years, and then I assume you went to college?
Yes.
What were those years like?
High school was interesting because I had a friend that lived in the neighborhood that decided to go to a high school in the city, not only in the city, but in the really high class area of the city. So my high school was right there. So I went by train. I walked to the station in this suburb, okay, almost rural south. And when I got off in the central station, I just walked again, okay, and that neighborhood was not anything like my neighborhood. And also the people, the students were upper class of Argentina. Yes. Very different.
Yeah. So you were in both worlds.
Yes, I lived both worlds, yes.
Yeah. And college?
I went to college in Argentina, in Buenos Aires, and it's almost city college. It's like New York, NYU. So I kept living at home, but I went to college in the downtown area. And college engineering is a 6-year degree in Argentina. So it's a professional degree. So it's like a master's or semi-master's.
Somewhere around there, I guess, you met your wife.
Yes.
How did that happen?
All right. Well, my wife was already graduated. She's only 1.5 years older than I. So she graduated as a pharmacist, and we belong to the University Zionist Club. Okay, and there's where I met my wife. Yes. So we dated, or a short time we dated, because most of the time we are friends, belonging to the same organization.
Right.
And as soon as we married, we left Argentina because, as I said, I went to Ecuador, and she came with me and her mother, and we were there for a while, and then I lost my job, and we decided to go back to Argentina, where my first daughter was born. And then the same company called me back, and then we came to the Dallas area, and then, as I said before, we went to England. We lived 2.5 years in England, and then to Australia, where we lived 1.5 years in Sydney.
And then Dallas was your last stop.
Dallas again, and we have been in Dallas since then, 1973.
Wow, that's quite a journey.
Yes.
So how have you seen Dallas change through the years?
Oh, Dallas changed entirely. I remember still Hillcrest Road being a 2-lane road, and Spring Valley was the limit of Dallas at the time we came in 73. In 69, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And everything was, north of it was rural. I remember I tried to buy some land and move to Plano, and my wife decided that that was going out to the country again, and she didn't want to do that. So
Too far away.
Too far away.
So how is the Dallas Jewish community to you when you first moved here? What was it like?
Well, because we didn't have family. At that time, our mother-in-law, my mother-in-law did not come with us, I think, when we came to Dallas. She came later on. My wife has a brother, and she spent time with her brother and us. She was a widow when she was only in her late 30s. So she had never remarried. So we needed to consider that when we were moving. And she was the reason why we stayed in the area close to the Texas Instruments. I have lived in Richardson all the time that I have been in Dallas. Mm-hmm. And then she came to stay with us, and she helped family near next door. Okay, she was always trying to be independent, although she needed to have somebody to be with because she didn't have a home. Yes.
Mm-hmm. So what, did you join any type of activities or
yes,
organizations while you were here?
Yes, I was.
Yeah,
I just
that's okay.
Lost my.
That's all right. That's okay.
Because we didn't have a family, then we tried to join a synagogue, and we did.
Which one?
Ferret was the first one that we knew of,
mm-hmm.
and we had children going to Akiva. The 3 of our children went to Akiva, right. Which gave us a very strong community sense. Mm-hmm. Okay, and then one of the daughters of Rabbi Kosfiszer of Sheriff Israel was going to the same class as my oldest daughter, so we became members of Sheriff Israel, and we have been there all the time.
Oh, okay. Right.
Also, we had a lady, a couple, the Marcuses from South Africa, that lived just 1.5 blocks from our home, and we became friends with them, and then gradually we started to know the South African community. Mm. So we are very close to the South African community.
You have one foot in the
yes,
South American community and one foot in the South African.
As I say, we both are from the Southern Hemisphere, so we understand each other.
That's good. So where are your children now?
Well, our oldest one lives in Plano. She's remodeling her house right now. And my granddaughter is now 22, and she's spending the summer in Florence, in Italy. Uh-huh. And my oldest grandson is going to go to college. And on my middle son lives in Dallas, North Dallas. He has 3 small children. Mm-hmm. So we have 2 generations of grandchildren, the ones that are in their 20s or and close to 20s, and the little ones which are going to be, the oldest one is going to be 11 years old. And we have one daughter that lives in the Seattle-Tacoma area, and she has 1 child, one girl.
Mm-hmm. Is she in the Microsoft business or something
else?
No,
no, she's a civil engineer.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
That's good. So when or have you retired, and when was that?
Oh, the Texas Instruments was sold their division to Halliburton, and for a while I was commuting to Houston. We did that with my wife for 2 years. Mm-hmm. We never moved our house, mm-hmm. and we were working in Houston for the Monday to Friday and coming back. We had 1 child still in our house. And after that, the business didn't work out for Halliburton, so they sold entirely the division, and I needed to find a job. It took me a while, but gradually I made it to work with the Environmental Protection Agency in downtown Dallas. Wow. And I worked in that office for 23 years. Wow. So I retired in August of last year.
Oh, very good. Yes. Mazel tov. That's great.
Right.
That must have been quite a good experience.
Yes. Yes, it was. As I say, I was cleaning up the mess that the oil exploration group did.
If you can think of an example, what are you most proud of in your life?
Well, the family, and something I didn't mention. I started to do genealogy about 25 years ago, and by writing down names and yes. Talking to people, mainly old ladies, okay, that know and remember, mm-hmm. and interested in the family. And I got a little bit more of time, and I then decided to get more serious about it. And I was able to find out that my father, he never talked about the family, I guess because of the shock of losing his close family. But the brothers and sisters of his mother, 4 of them came to America in the New York area, and 2 of them had 5 children, and I ended up uncovering that I had 55 second cousins living in America.
Oh, wow.
With, yes.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
That is fabulous.
Did
you write it all down?
Oh, yes, I have a very
Yes.
extensive
Okay.
genealogy.
That's
Yes,
good.
and I did, after that, I did genealogy for my wife's family, which is quite interesting because they were from the Lithuanian area, which I wasn't familiar with. Yes.
That's wonderful.
Yes.
Wow. So you have a big family you didn't know about.
Yes.
Wow.
I-
Have you been in touch? Been able to
Oh,
see?
yes, yes. I talk to them, and I publish a yearly letter, so
Yeah.
I get to inform and find out what they are up to.
Well, that's really something to be proud of,
Right.
doing all
Okay.
that work.
Yes, and also my family, of course. Okay,
Yeah.
they are now grown up, and we managed to have them going. All right.
So can you think of someone who perhaps you would consider a role model in your life? Is there anybody or anyone in particular?
And, I tend to just think about something and just get going, and no role models, certainly not role models from Argentina. The reason I left Argentina was because of a difficult political and economical situation. Okay, so no role models there. But my parents are really were very resilient, and that's something that I see lacking in the new generation. They just tend to break down when things are not going their way, and my parents were able to just keep going. All right, and just if something goes bad, it's not the end of the world, and just keep going.
Well, you certainly have a lot to be proud of, and a lot of good things that have happened in your
Yes.
life.
I do want to mention something which is not also known in the Jewish community in America, and it's the importance of the work that the Baron Hirsch did setting up colonies, agricultural colonies around the world, because he did that in Argentina, and that's the reason why my grandfather went to Argentina with his family. They settled in a rural town, and he was a farmer. And my mother went to a rural school. Okay, and not long ago I found out that he did the same in Canada, in Saskatchewan.
Right.
Saskatchewan, yes, close to the border with the U.S. And there is one in New Jersey.
Oh, I
Which,
didn't know that.
Yes,
Yeah.
very few people know about that. What Baron Hirsch, he was a German-French, very rich Jewish man that saw the need, especially during the 1890s, of helping the Jews in the world. At that time, Zionism was starting, but it was a long time till Israel was going to be settled by Jews. So he tried to help them out, and he had money, and he set up organizations. Okay, in Argentina it was called the Jewish Colonization Association, JCA, and he was able to get many Jews to leave the Palo settlement. That means Russia,
Right.
Poland, and Romania, and they were settled in Argentina, and they were saved, of course, from the Holocaust.
Wow,
Yes.
that is fascinating.
All right.
I knew about him, but I didn't know all the colonies. I mean,
Oh, yes, oh, yes.
wow, that's
In
fascinating.
fact, a cousin of mine still lives in one of the colonies. most of the Jews moved away from the colonies. They went to Argentina. I'm sorry, to Buenos Aires. But my cousin stayed there, and her children live in Israel. Yes. I also have another cousin from another uncle that lives in Israel. So I have quite a bit large family in Israel.
So, can you sum up a little bit for us whether it was a good decision to come to Dallas?
Yes, yes, definitely it was a good decision. It was a big change. I didn't see it, and my wife didn't see it at that time, but it is a big change. Again, we came from a society which is much more family-oriented, and that is not the way that the U.S. is. It's more individualistic, and we see a big change there, and we always wonder if maybe it has gone too far of the individual being the basic of the society and not the family.
True. But no regrets?
No.
That's good.
I still have a sister that lives in Buenos Aires. But,
do you have family anywhere else that you know of, besides the ones you found in New York?
Oh yes, on my mother's side, because of the 5 children that my grandfather had, I have cousins, and not only in Argentina, but in Brazil. I have a large family in Brazil. Yes.
Do you ever get back there?
Yes,
Have you been
we
back?
went to weddings. We celebrate.
Yes. Oh, that's good.
In fact, my cousin's daughter married a chemist. They came from Bolivia. That's another thing that very few people in the States understand, is that before the World War, Second World War, there was a German in Bolivia, a German that had pretty good connections with the government, and he also tried to settle Jews, mainly from Germany, because he was German, and he tried to settle them, and he may have saved almost 12 to 15,000 Jews during that period, pre-war period. And one of the children of these people that are considered survivors, although they were not in concentration camps, is the one that went to Brazil and is now owner of a very, very large company in Brazil.
Wow.
Everybody knows the company in Brazil. Yeah.
That's fantastic. Well, Angel, is there anything else you'd like to add to this that we haven't covered?
I think I covered most of. I am really happy to have come to Dallas, and we are very involved now with the synagogue because I have more time, and also with the Holocaust Museum and the JCC as well.
Right. Very good.
Yes.
I'm glad we have all that to offer you.
All right.
Thank you for this very much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.